Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Art of Hustle. This is your host, Ananya, and today, me and the entire Swayam team is extremely proud and excited, for we are in the office of Wehub, India's first and only state-led initiative fostering female entrepreneurs. I have with me the CEO of Wehub, Deepthi Ravula ma'am, and we're here for a very, very exciting conversation. Ma'am, welcome to the
Thank you.
the podcast.
Thank you so much.
So before we get started with the podcast, if you had to explain VHub to a layman, what would you say?
If I were to explain, VHub is an incubator, and the focus is very simple. We want to make sure that more and more women become job creators rather than job seekers. That's about it. And one more thing I would like to really highlight is that we are proudly a government of Telangana initiative. And the reason I insist on mentioning this is because every state and every part of the world talks about how we need more women to be entrepreneurs, but very few states actually take the thing head on. And I think, in Telangana we did that, and
That's really wonderful. It's definitely a really, really good initiative. So generally, we love focusing on the journey of our guests. So let's backtrack a little, and can you tell us about your college days? So we know you've done your engineering in EFE. So can you tell us a little more about your college life, any memories that you cherish from that time?
Oh, yes. I'm an electronics engineer. And when you talk about the reason I pursued it is quite simple. My brother actually, he was among the top 13 IIT JEE, the joint entrance. And I was like, okay, we always stayed together, right? So because he became an engineer, I thought I should do it too. I tried to go for certain tuitions to get into JEE, but then I could not pick up at 5 a.m. So that's something, maybe IIT is way beyond my thing. I can't do this. So that's how I just chose that I'll be an engineer just like him, but on a different thing. So my motivations are very simple. It's not because of anything. I just like what my brother did and I enjoy it. That's all. And when you talk about memories, I think till the time I joined college, I was always in a girls' college. I went to St. Anne's. Then I had went for my 11th and 12th also in St. Anne's.
Okay.
So for me, it was the first time I was in a co-educational institution, but it was not all that I expected. It was really fun, and engineering was cool, and it's been great. Until I joined college, I didn't realize that, one of the best things that I think I got from my college days is, number one, is that there's a lot of perceptions about a lot of different things. And I think it was very interesting to be in the company of many, many different people. And the second interesting thing is that, and I keep telling a lot of people, is that till the time I joined college, I didn't realize I'm from Telangana. So that college made me realize what my middle name was, which region of the state I belong from. So I'm really thankful for that. Yeah.
Right, from the BD and ragging, so on.
Ragging was amazing. It was amazing because I was among the very few girls. So a lot of people didn't think I had a free seat for some weird reason because I was from St. Anne's.
Okay.
So, and then there were a lot of ragging there. And then being from, a lot of my friends who eventually became friends, my seniors, many of them did not know about our part of the state very much. So it was very interesting ragging, and it was a lot of fun. And now I get a chance to rag them. So it was really nice. Yeah.
So since most of our target audience is students, what do you think today's undergrad students of India, of Telangana lack, in your opinion, or can work on that will, foster a lot more opportunities for our future?
I'll be very honest. I don't think anybody lacks in anything. Obviously, I'll just show my age when I say that you have a lot more opportunities than we did. I honestly don't believe that. I think we all have enough opportunities always. But the one thing I tend to notice a little bit more of in many of the recent grads is that there is a sudden urge to be a generalist.
Okay.
People want to be known for everything. And my humble feedback on that, given that I have a little bit more experience, is that you will only be a great generalist if you are a subject matter expert in something. I think you need to choose your passion, and I always think that, you need to be excellent and an expert in something before you go on and do everything. Because if everyone in the world is a generalist, then what is your USP, right? There is no expert, so what are we really relying on? Yeah.
So you don't believe in the jack of all trades concept?
I honestly, I am a jack of all trades, right? But I made sure that I actually put my head down and focused on certain things for about 6 to 7 years at a stretch. So instead of trying to do all of them on a surface level, personally what I do is I actually dig a lot deeper into everything that I choose, and I research and I read a lot of things about it. And I learn a little bit more. Yeah.
And that's truly what sets you apart from everyone else.
I don't know if it sets me apart, but it gives me a little bit more confidence in, understanding things better. So I think we keep on saying that, a lot of people are very quick thinking on their feet. But a lot of quick thinking comes from incredible amount of hard work and an incredible amount of reading and research.
Yeah. So we've also seen you talk about including art subjects into the STEM curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell us more about that and why do you feel the need to do that?
See, one interesting thing, and this is something that I learned when I actually was teaching the students in the US. So I actually was lucky enough to have a scholarship from, San Diego when I went for my master's. And the first time I actually went there, I actually started off as a teaching assistant for Electronics 101.
Okay.
So when I looked at the approaches that were taken, one thing I realized is that we were never taught the art of visualization.
Right.
We always learn things, but we don't visualize things. And I think one of the reasons why we need to think about art, again, when I say art, it's not drawing this fancy thing, but at least being able to visualize certain things is something we often miss out on because we are so focused on, going for this coaching, that coaching, getting the top marks. We always never sit down and try to see that, if I do this, how will that slightly change the output? And I think that is where arts really plays a big role because the more you're able to write, the more you're able to visualize, the better you'll be able to explain. Yeah.
Right. So after your master's and after your education was done, you went on to work in a lot of established companies, after which you switched into this line of business, into making entrepreneurs of tomorrow. So how did that transition take place? And because we're seeing all the great work that Wehub is doing today under your leadership, how do you manage to keep the energy up throughout?
Okay, so let me answer your first question, right? So when you said I pursued engineering and I did all this stuff, so yeah, I did every respectable engineering graduate would do, right? And you hopefully finish your engineering without backlogs. Then you go to the US like everybody else. Then the one thing I actually never did is that I never wanted to move away from what I studied.
Okay.
So for me, software was never something that I was very interested in. So I actually continued to work in what I studied. So I have a master's in communications engineering. So I continued working in that. And when you talk about switch, it was not a switch so much. So a small story I would like to tell you is that while I was in the US, I was also part of the Telangana movement because I can trace about 6 to 7 generations of my family to Telangana. And we've also been part of the previous movements. I will not call it an agitation. So even in the US, I was a big part of the Telangana movement. And while we were doing that, we are very excited by being part of, morchas and all that stuff, right? But I was doing a lot of work on what are the opportunities that Telangana has. So while we were researching that, the state was formed. And when the team visited the US, I was like every NRI, I was saying that, I was telling the team that Telangana should do this to do better, Telangana should do that to do better. And then the Honorable Minister KTR sir just said one thing. A lot of people talk. If we give you an opportunity, will you come back and do something? And then I was like, yes. And 15 years later, in 2 days, I moved back to India.
Oh, wow.
And that's how my journey with the government started. So more than me making a switch, I think it was the opportunities that were provided by the Honorable Minister to, say that, let's get things done. And I think that's how I'm here.
That's wonderful. That's a really nice story. So we have another segment that we generally do, which is a rapid fire. So just basic questions and please answer the first thing that comes to your mind.
Yeah.
So name the first thing that comes to your mind when I say school.
I think it was the teachers that were really amazing. Yeah.
Parents.
Oh, I'm very thankful. Immense gratitude.
Family.
Fun.
Wehub.
Welcoming.
Colleagues.
Oh, the foundation and the backbone for everything I do.
And if you had to give one word for a woman.
I don't know. I mean, one word for a woman. I think depends on the women actually. I don't really judge or give words to people the minute I see them. Yeah.
So we have a few other questions. If you had a chance to be someone for a day, who would you pick?
I think it will be just me with a lot less overthinking and just a lot more enjoying the world.
Okay. If you had to suggest one book to someone, what would that be?
Honestly, I cannot just suggest one book. I actually try to read a lot. And a lot of what I read, I think now I'm trying to read After Steam, which is a book. And I think that is what I would like to recommend right now because I like it. And the other thing also that I really like is I also read a little bit books which are a little bit more current. So one of the interesting books I've had the fortune to read recently is North versus South.
Okay.
I'd also like to recommend that. Yeah.
Okay. If you had to recommend one movie, what would that be?
I think I'm a big fan of all Marvel.
Okay.
So I think anything that comes from the universe, except for I think one of the, what is that? Where was that? I forgot the name. What is that movie that came out in 2019 before COVID? Avengers Battle something. That is the one movie you should not watch, but everything else please do. Yeah.
Okay. So what are 4 things that you tell your younger self?
What are 4 things? I think number 1 thing is that take a pause and enjoy what you're doing today. Second thing is don't do anything just for the sake of doing it. Number 3, I would like to really tell my younger self is actually you can always cycle more than 75 kilometers. You can easily do 100 in 2 days, not a problem. And the last and most important thing is that try to be more happier every day. That's all.
Okay, what's a festival that you wait for?
I think I'm a big fan of all festivals. There is no festival which I do not like. So everything.
Anything specific that brings back a lot of memories from?
For me, I think I love Ganesh Chaturthi. Incredible because we were always in the dance troupe.
Okay.
And the other thing which I really like is obviously Batukama is very nice. It's a very native festival.
Okay. And if your child came up to you one day and he or she said they want to become an entrepreneur, what would your first reaction be?
As long as you don't expect us to bootstrap you. Yeah, I don't want to do that. They're expensive.
So let's cycle back to Wehub now. So in general, there's, like I said, great work being done in Wehub. So why do you think we're still in a position in 2023 where we have the need for an organization like Wehub? Because we have T-Hub, which is dealing with similar projects.
Yeah.
So where do you think we're placed in the society at this point?
It's a very interesting question. And the first thing is every day I ask myself this question. So then the answer is quite simple. So having come from a place in life where I never had any challenges or I never realized I was a woman or I had some less opportunities because I'm a girl or a woman. When this was offered, I was like, what am I supposed to do, right? I felt a little bit like, why do we need it? But every single day that I'm here, one thing we realize is Wehub is not created for people like you and me. It's created for people who do not have a voice. And the better work we do, the better platforms we provide for more and more people to utilize Wehub, the more amplified we can make their voices be. So it's more to create an equitable society to make sure that, we don't have a T-Hub or a Wehub, but one place where every citizen can dream and aspire and achieve everything that they want to do.
So as an organization, what steps do you think we can take to foster more women from rural areas to come up with startups?
Interesting, right? So I think this is where it's quite an interesting question. Because when we think of startups, we have a perception of how a startup founder is.
Yeah.
They may look like you, they may look like her or me, right? But the interesting thing is that there are already a lot of women-led startups that are there in tier 2 areas as well. It's just that they have not been affected by jargonization.
Right.
I think if we lessen the jargonization, we can have more women-led businesses from across the state come forward. And for that, it is very simple what we need to do. Instead of sitting in Hyderabad and talking about how to solve the challenges, it's better if we actually go where the entrepreneur is and get the work done.
Right.
Because if you want to create local solutions, you need to be on the ground. And that's it. Be there to solve. Else don't be here and feel bad about it.
So if someone comes to you with a startup idea, what are 3 things that you look for?
Number 1 thing is that first thing we actually look for is where is that entrepreneur coming from?
Okay.
When somebody wants to be an entrepreneur, a lot of times if somebody starts with my neighbor is doing it, so I want to do it, it's not a great story, right? So I think first thing we see is where does the entrepreneur come from? Number 2, what we look at is the viability of the idea. I'm not going to go in and say that, this will fly or not. We are no one to judge. But we do look at, has the entrepreneur even done some basic thing? And what is the reason why she thinks that idea is viable? And the last, but the foundation of everything we do is coachability of the entrepreneur.
Right.
If you're not willing to listen, we cannot work with you. Because if you're not willing to listen, no incubator can support you in any manner. Yeah.
That's true. Okay, so we have another game segment here, which is if. So a few hypothetical situations and your responses to it. If you had a chance to bring back one historical figure to life, who would that be and why?
I think one person I really would like to kind of sit down and talk to is Subhash Chandra Bose. Because there is so much that's happening and I really want to know what it is about.
Okay. If you had the chance to teleport anywhere in this world, right this moment, where would you go?
I think I would prefer going to Taipei. I love Taipei quite a bit, yeah.
Okay. If you had the power to eradicate one thing from this world, what would that be?
I think the lack of willingness to learn.
Okay.
That is it. I think the more we are vulnerable and the more we are accepting of the fact that we don't know everything, I think life is good. Yeah.
If you could pick a title for your autobiography, what would that be?
What next?
Okay. If you could eat only one dish for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I'd stay hungry, man. I can't do that. I can't do that.
Okay. So coming to your work, and because entrepreneurship is always a little risk-oriented and you see it every day on the field. So does your job ever stress you out or put you in situations where you're overwhelmed?
I'll be very honest. I think I'm never stressed out at work.
Okay.
I'm never stressed out by work because I think a lot of times we end up getting stressed out because we never realize, we do not spend enough time with ourselves to understand the difference between stress and being busy.
Right.
People often confuse being busy with being stressed.
Right.
That is one. It doesn't stress me out because every morning I spend a lot of time thinking about what all will go wrong in my day, and I just am prepared. That's it. But yeah, sometimes the only stressful situation is when people, the lack of awareness and lack of utilizing or lack of broader perspective really in others stresses me out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And being I wouldn't say being a woman, but because for a woman, family and career, balancing them out and work-life balance is always talked about. Not as much as it is for men. So what do you think about work-life balance for women, and any advice or your thoughts on it?
Okay, this is something that a lot of people hate on me, but I'll tell you one thing. Work-life balance does not exist, man. Just some days work is really important. Do work then. Some days family is very important. Choose family. But choose what is best for you at that point in time, because if you try to kind of say that, this percentage of your day should go for life and this should go for your work, then you'll always be chasing something which is never going to happen. Like today, if let's say Saiti is here, if I say, Saiti, let's work on something till 12 o'clock in the night, and Saiti has made it a point to say that, just saying Saiti has chosen that, she'll spend 60% at work and 40% at home. It's going to stress her out.
Yeah.
So I think being flexible and agile, and just again, end of the day, realizing that everything is possible. We just need to be chill and having fun. That's it.
So again, like I said, in the perspective of Wehub, did you ever face any situations where, because you listen to a lot of pitches and you see a lot of people get rejected on a daily basis. So in that sort of a scenario, what would your advice to students of today be? How do they pick themselves back up and just move on, look for the next opportunity?
See, one of the major traits or the most important traits of being an entrepreneur is actually having an entrepreneurial mindset. When we talk about entrepreneurial mindset, we always think that, becoming a unicorn or starting something very unique. But for me, being truly entrepreneurial, or the question that you asked, is quite simple. I'll not call it a failure, but if you are willing to learn and adapt and be agile, there is nothing that you can't do. I mean, in my own life, I always make 1,000 mistakes a day, and 99% of my own ideas are shot down. But the fact is, at least I was curious enough to have 99 ideas. So I think never let go of curiosity. Always understand that your success or your pass or fail does not, except for in your exams, which are graded, your success or failure are not dependent on the other person's validation of it.
True. External validation means nothing.
Nothing. But also internal validation does not mean Instagram validation. It means real world, hard work, sweat-driven validation, yes.
So before we conclude the podcast, I just had one question. What was the best piece of advice you'd ever received?
Oh yes, the best piece of advice. I would not call it an advice. But I think the best thing I ever received from my mentors is that they were always very good soundboards. They always spent a lot of time listening and then saying that, making me realize that, the answer is always within me. So the first thing is that, having the patience to listen, I think is something that is really nice. Number 2 advice that I always received is that there's nobody really against you. It's just that their perspective always varies from yours. And I think if you can put yourself in the other person's shoe, you'll never be angry in life. So that is one thing. Yeah.
So thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today, for joining our podcast. And it's truly been a pleasure to come here to see the office, the environment, and to meet you and interview you. Me and my team are extremely grateful for giving us this opportunity.
Yes.
So lastly, would you say anything to the students? Or?
Advice to the students, quite simple. Have a lot of fun. Make sure that you clear all your backlogs. And third and most important thing I'd like to really tell you is that it's always good to have a goal in life, but don't be so stringent on the modalities with which you want to reach your goal, because if you are focused on every step, you'll always forget to enjoy the process of getting to your goal. So have a lot of fun and enjoy yourself.
Once again, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you guys for tuning in. That's it for today's episode. Please do like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode.